This will be... Hey guys, it's me again. This will be part 3 to What If Deku was a Fallen from Destiny. Where I last left off is that... Well, it's a rundown. He's got his own pike. The FOTC essentially have pretty much targeted him for elimination. Suyu, the hunter, and Aizawa, a sergeant of the FOTC, are essentially hunting him right now. He has his own pike. Toga is part of his gang. He's essentially even been promoted to second in command, and anything else? No. Also, the House of Bulls colors will be, I believe, black? Not black, but gray and orange. Something like that. Now, continue. Right now, Deku's sort of dreaming, like sleeping and reliving a memory. What's happening now is that he's having a dream of when his father told him the story of Chelsix, Kell of Stone, and told about how his noble sacrifice against the darkness. That's all they know it as, the darkness. They don't have a name or anything. Just the darkness. And he tells of how when Chelsix's last words were how with the light, the Elixir would still win against this darkness. And as he turned, and his last words were, "Where's the great machine? Where has it left?" And then it tells of how the Elixir were laid low. And his dad's telling him the story, because it's a story that is still sung by the Elixir, who, he's like this figure that was even above the House of Kings at some times, is that he's revered by even them. All houses revere Chelsix, Kell of Stone. Strongest Kell ever. Now, go to sleep. You have school tomorrow. And as he's about to leave, Deku says, "Do you think I could become like Chelsix?" And this is his form of All Might. And the original, how he's raised up around All Might, this immovable, indomitable. He's just unable to be stopped. He's "Do you think I can become like Chelsix?" He's like, "Deku, you can become anything you put your mind to. Now sleep. School tomorrow. I leave for a while." And yeah, I have already explained how Chelsix is essentially the Elixir form of All Might and or Superman. But I digress. As he's finally he wakes up from that dream, So our reminisces on, and he wants to be good. He wants to make sure the Elixir don't suffer and everything. And this takes him some time to think, is that unlike most Elixir, he takes a bit of time to think about humanity and how they were just like the Elixir. But then he immediately throws this idea away. Just no. Then he gets up. It's sort of late, so not everyone's up at this moment. He just sort of gets up, and the only one who pretty much hears him get up, is Toga. She wakes up She's "Oh, where are you going?" He's "I go for a walk." She's "Oh, can I join you?" She's "Sure." As she's walking with him, he's speaking to her about his he's sort of thought about it a bit before he's going to bed. But he does have a layout that's how the captain showed him the last outpost, and he does have a layout of what the outposts defenses are and what they seem to be. So as he's discussing with Toga about his plans, Kaminari comes down. He's being called for late night duties. This sucks. He like runs into Deku and Toga. He's like, oh, you two. He's like, Kaminari. Are you prepared for tomorrow? He's like, yeah. You all will play an important part. You know this. Yeah. You'll be given some of the vandals to pick off some of the guards with the wire rifles. Kirishima will lead the sort of first thing. And the Mina will be leading a second thing. Toga and some of the vandals and the rest will stick close to me. And as he's like going over with this, we have several rockets. As he puts it, is that they have like rocket launchers and such that they've scavenged, like been able to make. So he like lays out the plans that Kaminari and his like wire rifle squad, or just snipers, will be taking out some of the guards. At the same time, the dregs and like in the first wave will be preparing some spike grenades. Then we'll shoot a couple of rockets like and like sort of like makes it out like with his multiple hands. As this is happening, they hear something like they like look around, just keep checking around the corners. They don't move anywhere without their guns. So as they're going down the corner, they hear something and then they see something. They like see something moving. It's like, is that a stealth? They like dodge the shots and then chase after it. Kaminari is able to get like a little bit of a shot, but it only skins it like, and it just falls down. Not falls down, but kind of like trips and keeps running. As this is happening, like Deku's like, Toga, Kaminari, go tell the others. Toga, with me. As this is happening, they're chasing it down. Deku like sees it and takes aim, and Toga and him just fire at the same time. Hits the vandal right in the back and just kills it. As this happens, they like sort of walk over into it and like flip it over to see the colors. They're like House of Devils. We will bring this to Baron. She will tell us what to do. Sorry if I can't do the voice right now. I think it's because my voice isn't as, like, my mouth isn't as dry and such as it was when I did the other voice, so I'll try my best, but no promises. My accents suck. But as I digress, they sort of like bring in, she like starts to say that the devils may know we're here, or it's just like a one scavenging. So as this is said, she's like, why didn't the sentries notice this? Well, it's a stealth vandal, ma'am. Specifically, it looks like infiltration. As they're like checking over it, like she looks over and like sees what it's done. It's like has a little map of the land and such, and some written out orders. It was like to check out this area and this area to see if there's like a fractured house, because the House of Devils don't really want to have to kill them. It's more on the market for like recruiting them. Like, because they have heard about the one in black, and they like, as they see that, find the one in black, bring him to us. As this is happening, they all just like turn back to Deku like, have you been spotted? He's like, I should not have. I've been keeping to the shadows and staying low. Unless some saw a few things. Because he's like been keeping track of all the times. And so as they're saying this, she's like, this does not change the plan. We attacked the outpost. Have you organized a plan yet? As she says that, she's like, yes. As he like walks up, he like sort of draws and like shows like his plan to have Kaminari having like control over like several vandals with wire rifles, and Mina will be in the second wave. Hiroshima will be in the first wave with a bunch of dregs and vandals. Then him, Toga, and a few of the other dregs and vandals will be allowed to go for. We'll have rockets and such that they'll destroy. I'll describe the outpost real quick. It isn't like theirs where it's like inside the mountain. What is that it's just like a normal military outpost. Sort of like an abandoned one. So as this is being said, they just like sort of keep an eye out, and then like it's nighttime, so they're in positions and everything. So they're in positions just waiting and waiting. Then it's just like the Baroness gives a signal for them to go on the attack. So as this happens, Deku like gets in contact with Kaminari and says, "Wait on my signal. Shoot when I say. Target the Watchers." He's like, "Yes, Deku." As this is happening, they're like, "We're in position." And he like contacts Hiroshima. Are your troops in position, Hiroshima? Yes, we are ready. We're just waiting your orders. Then he talks to Mina. Are you ready to support? She's like, yes. Troops are ready to support. And he's like, alright, rockets at the ready. Then he's like, Kaminari, fire now! And as this happens, like for a second, like a vandal like looks up and like sees the thing, and then just sees a bunch of like blue things go like just taking them all the Watchers out. And then he's like the final one to get shot. They're like, we're ready. Now as this is said, Hiroshima, sorry, the names are kind of similar, so my mind gets confused. Hiroshima, like, she's like, prep and throw. As they like toss a bunch of them, some of the drakes and such like have this freak out, like explosions all over the camp. As this happens, like a few captains run in, and like a baron, like who's a bit taller than the captain, like a head taller than the captains, like runs out, and the Baroness starts her assault on the other side by launching a few rockets as well, like destroying the wall. As this happens, Deku says ready and fires the other rockets at like key positions where there's like a few clusters of troops, and then they knock down the barricades. As they're rushing in, the dregs and such are in the front lines, running at each other. Like, the lines of dregs literally just run in, like, jump at each other like pure animals. Like, as they're described as fanatical. They, like, charge in and, like, tear each other to pieces, essentially. As this is happening, Kirishima's, like, up front, like, using his dual sabers to just, like, cut through them. And just, like, shish kebabbing them. Then comes in Mina. She's like coming from, not Mina. Yeah, it's Mina. They're coming in from another side, and they automatically just start firing through. Like, you can hear her like dual pistols going. And they're taking down several of them from the side. The Vandals are like trying to get a hold of the dregs, and the captains are trying to shout out to the Vandals. And so the captains are fighting on multiple sides, and then Deku just like and his like little squad like make a way there and just start taking out like ones who seem to be giving orders. So at one point, like a Vandal's like somewhat getting a defense organized and like telling them to pull back and to get behind cover. Then Deku just like sort of like and just kills them and just go. His like little group is just behind the lines and just lighting people up and like cutting through them. As that line is defeated, they literally burst in through, and now it's close quarter combat. So they're like literally just, it's like corridors and moving, and they're like, since Deku has his like little fire shotgun, I'll say the ones like his little personal little squad that's around him is 4 dregs, because like I said, dregs have like taken notice and have started following him. These dregs also have shrapnel rifles. They're just following in. They're like, This is like some of the ones that like hung around with Toga, and she talks about how he's put his life on the line for her. And I'll say there's a few missions he went out with these ones as well. They're not really specific, because they're just going to be no names, unless you guys give them names, maybe. And so as they're moving in, they're just like taking down like one room at a time, like throwing little spike grenades, getting them out covered. Deku's like has organized this greatly. And Kaminari's like still on the hill, like and his little group are still taking pot shots, but then Deku's like, come in closer. No need to you to get cut off. So as they're like, you heard him, get down there, they just sort of start rushing down the hill. And as they're rushing down the hill, the Baroness is like saying, he did well. And now as she's like pushing her troops forward, she sort of like, a captain like jumps for her, and she like tosses him to the side and like, just executed. As this keeps happening, the captains are like starting to panic. So one like tries to make a desperate attempt of running away. This Baron sees this, picks him up and goes, whoa, like stabs him like right through. As this is happening, Deku and his like little squad has cleared out pretty much the first floor, and all the enemies on the outside of the base have been taken care of. They've lost a few of them, but nothing too major. As this is also happening, there's a lot happening right now. A couple of devils apparently are like scouting this out on this like very efficient, and it's pretty much almost done. The only thing left is the Baron, who's like trying to fight his way through. And Deku gives orders to Kaminari to like pick off any of the ones trying to run away. So they're like, a big one's trying to get away, as they light up and just a couple of them hit him and one hits him in the leg, so he's like as he's like trying to like limp away. Deku and them sort of just like, his like little squad just start not chasing him, but they just secure the rest, taking out the rest of the vandals, like another captain that had held up. This Baroness saw this and like literally just had a couple, like several of her troops just light this guy up, and then he's just down. Now as this happens, like Deku like bursts through the top of the thing and just sees the victory. He's like, no! They like start shouting for victory and such. The Baroness is like, good, now check for weapons and supplies. See why they are here. And now as this is said, they actually like go over to the Baron's body and sees if he has orders. He doesn't have orders. He just has some like just like a shield and nothing really unusual. Just a better weapon, just like a Scorch shrapnel rifle that's somewhat better than Deku's. So she calls him over, and she's like, take this, and it's like a upgrade version, essentially. It's like a bit enhanced, you could say. So as this is done, he's like, thank you, and she's like, you did good. Now, as they're like going through, they find their supplies, some ether rations, and all that. Now, as this continue on, they get done with their thing, and there's a few pikes lying around, so a few of the troops get to, like, some of the dregs get to ride on that. Ooh, and, like, a few dregs and, like, a vandal get, like, the things. Because, as far as I know, it's mainly, like, dregs who, like, ride on the pikes. So, yeah. So, as they run off, they continue to do their thing, and they retreat back to their, like, homely abode. As they're there, and they're resecuring the things, and they each get like a bit extra ether because of the bounty they just pulled in. And they also found materials to feed to the servitor, so that way they can produce a bit more ether. So she's like, might as well empty some of these extra tanks, so they all get like an extra bit of ether rations. Not Kaminari, but a few of the other ones are back up in the little thing. And like a few of the like dregs that like were there with Deku, like some, and Kirishima's like been noticed by some of the dregs that instead of just sending them up all to die, like some of them have started like crowding around him. and they like sort of like give him like they all just follow him around. So he essentially has his own little gang now that follow him. And they ask, who does he follow? And he points to Deku. Like, they all get, like, some recognition. Like, some of the Vandals, compliment Kaminari on his, like, marksman skills. Some of the, like, a couple of Vandals and Drakes compliment Mina on her skills and yada, yada, yada. And they all kind of ask who do, like, each of them follow. And they're like, the Panther, Deku, second in command. As they say this, some of them are understanding that he's sort of like a spec ops for them. But as this is happening, like an alarm goes off, and like the doors get flung open, like, and guess what walks in? House of Devil's Baron walks in. As they are, like, not all celebrating, like, some of them still have their weapons, like, as they run up to him, they're like, the Baroness, like, tells them to, like, stand down, and she talks to this Devil's Baron, and it's just like, just, like, kind of shouting in Elixir, and she's, like, also speaking, like, you never really hear any coherent speech of Elixir, like, not at all. Like, in Tanix's fight, it's like, more like, and just screaming. But I digress. So, as they go on, this Baron just essentially puts up an ultimatum. Either they leave, or the devils will come and kill them. So as this is said, like, Deku, like, sort of walks up to the Baron, and just sort of, like, has his weapon at the ready. He's like, and the Baron kind of, like, looks at his colors and, like, kind of laughs mockingly that the bulls, like, he, like, says he read the reports and that some of the bulls reports, but the Panthers had died, like, sniveling rats. So when Deku hears this, he, like, takes a step forward, and this Baron also takes, like, a step forward. Deku's, like, this Baron is, like, bigger than than the Baroness, who is still taller than Deku. So Deku's standing up to, like, this giant. And as he's, like, standing up, the Baroness puts her hand over and tells him to back off, to stand down. He just, like, gives, like, a little growl, like, and just backs off. And the Baron says, "You've been given the ultimatum, leave or die." So as this is happening, it just, like, evacs with, like, the rest of the fallen gang. And now, as Deku discusses what they should do, like, he asked the Baroness, what are we going to do? Are we going to do what he says, or what? She's like, give me a minute. But as this is happening, some of the FOTC saw this, like, little fighting thing. Sort of, like, sent it over to, like, not Zavala, but Idan them. They're, like, taking a look at the recordings. And they saw that this was a pretty well planned out, and how the Watchers were first taken out, a bunch of spike grenades were then shot, and then not marksmen, but rocket launchers were then fired out to deal with the walls. Now, as this was happening, like, Suyu sort of, like, took note and, like, hang on a second, zoom in right there. And she sees Deku leading a few, like, several dregs over, like, a fence with the shrapnel rifle and, like, take down. And how they cut through the fallen and go through the building. And at the very end, they come out. She's like, oh, who's this house that we're looking at? As they're, like, sort of, like, zooming in, they, like, translate the language to, like, House of Lions. Some of them are like, Panthers and Lions. Who would have guessed? And so they sort of talking, like, could this have been, like, some sub-house? because they're still on the mystery of what house Deku belongs to and if they should be worried about more. And then, like, Momo's like, well, could be possible that it's just members from a broken house. Like, think about it. There's, like, they know of Tanix, the Scarred, or from the House of Scar, and how he's, like, the last members of the House of Scar that they know of, and that house was broken, so she's like, could be the same thing. Then as she says this, then, like, not Ida, but Tsuyu comes to the realization, we need to kill him, quickly. They ask, why? This could be another Tanix in the making. We do not need that. So as this is being said, they, like, take note of what's happening, and then they also, like, again, they, like, notice the other group of Fallen over there. That were the House of Devils that were watching this all be enacted. And notes that that's the Devil's Baron they've been after that's been, like, in control of the entire operation around this area. So, they sort of, like, start making plans. Tsuyu brings it up again that this may be a good chance to take care of the Panther, as Black Panther, as they've been been calling him, or just Panther. Or Tanix 2.0, whichever you prefer. So they say, you just, like, maybe we should, like, pay more attention. But as this is said, like, one of the teams say, hang on. Like, from an area, they, like, were scouting, they're like, hang on, we got movement. As this is happening, like, a couple of devils just appear out of nowhere. And as the devils appear out of nowhere, they just do her to do their thing, wander around a bit. Now, as they notice this, I'll cut back to Deku and them. This was a little bit ago. And what happens is that the Baroness sort of tells him that he needs to get out there and find out where some of these squads are and take them out. Like I said, he's Spec Ops. That he'll be doing this on his own because they need all hands on deck right now. All hands on deck. And that he'll be like the only one. He'll be the only one going out taking care of like little squads. So he's like, yes, Baroness. As this happens, he literally just goes out and just hunts down these groups of Fallen. So I was like, hang on, there's movement. As they see that, they see like a couple of like dregs, a vandal, and a captain come out of the forest. And Deku's like using invisibility right now, so none of them see him. So what happens is that he like sort of like stealthily goes down and drags a drag away, like as it's being dragged away, and then just like silence. They're like, what was that? As they're like looking around trying to see it, they see him hiding behind a building. Not a building, but like a tree. And he sneaks up slowly but surely and then takes out 2 more dregs. That's all the dregs. And the captain's like talking to the 2 vandals like, surround me, keep an eye out. They're like all back to back. Now as the vandals like, they're kind of shaken up because out of nowhere there's 3 dregs fall down. And out of nowhere a vandal just gets hit like, and just like falls down dead. They're like, ugh. They check him and he's just like, they're like back to back now. He's like, move back to the forest. The captain's ordered this, so the vandal and him try to run back. That vandal then is taken down like, this captain's like just like kind of freaked out at this point. Just this entire gang was just knocked out of nowhere. Now as this happens, Deku's just in his invisibility slowly but surely sneaking up on him. Then out of nowhere, Deku gets right in the leg, then the chest, and then he like flips it around and just takes off the head. He puts his Kakuri back and like looks over the bodies and grabs like something that looks out and like some orders, like digital orders, like secure this area, find salvage, yada yada yada. And he just looks over and just like, he doesn't really see anything he wants. They don't really have anything, so he just leaves. As this happens, the hunters is like, we can go out there now. The Titan's like, fine, no. It's nighttime, and did you see he just took about part of that team quickly and efficiently. We aren't sending the FOTC out there in these conditions. Like, not them, us. We can go out there quick and easy and get them. As this is happening, Ida's like processing it, and Mom was like, it would be the optimal time. If he's hunting down these House of Devils, they can be sure that they are not aligned. And that something might have gone down between the House of Lions and these devils. As this is happening, they're like, should we come back? But before they can say anything, they're like, sir, I'm gonna come back. Out of nowhere, the guy just gets picked up, turned around, and then you just see the devil's bear like, and then the camera cuts out. As this cuts back, the Baron's like, I gave them a choice. Now they die. Gets the weapon, just starts hunting Deku in a way. Or you could say this is like one of his seconds in command that... Sorry. Just gotta take a breather sometimes. And he literally just like sends out like his second in command and says the Baron gave him a choice. And they didn't take it. Now, as this is going on, Deku's just like going from fallen group to fallen group, just taking out like little pike, like duos of pikes, groups of like vandals, groups of dregs, and like a captain or two. He's going one by one. Then he gets caught out in the open. And I'll say, like, at this moment, the hunter and the titan are, like, on his trail. He's like, do this quick and easy. Then they just hear, like, fighting this. Then they rush out into, like, not into the open, but to see what's going up. As they peek over, they see Deku being, like, tossed around by this, like, giant, like, as big as his Baron. Not the Baronet, as big as the Baroness. Why? Excuse me. God, my nose just keeps on, like, clogs up sometimes. But I digress. As this is happening, they sort of just, like, are looking at this and just see Deku's just being tossed around. As he, like, is holding up an arm. He's like, mercy. Please, and just speaking in Elixir, this captain, like, walks over and is about to kill Deku. Got more hair in my mouth, God. As he's, like, reaching down to go pick him, he's like, it's like, you're weak and cowardly, and you'll die screaming. Whoop. As he's like, say that to my face. If you guys have seen Halo, you know what I'm doing. As he's like... say that to my face, he's like, fine. My face will be the last thing your pathetic form sees. As this happens, he takes out his knife and goes, and then just, again, decapitates. Just, as he, like, falls down onto the ground. The hunter notes that was I'm pretty sure that little devil was cause of a little bit of trouble. And, like, Deku, like, picks himself back up after getting beaten down. Reports to the Baroness that he's taken out, like, a second command or something. I'm returning. She's like, how many have gone? My guess, like 50, plus this one, which is 51. She's like, oh, that's good. Return back and see if he has anything. As he's, like, looking him over, he doesn't see much. He sees, like, the shield generator and the teleportation pack. I'm pretty sure that's like a little thing they have, is like little teleportation packs, but then again, I'm not sure. Could just be, I'm pretty sure it's just a little thing that allows him to teleport. So as he just like straps that stuff on and he generates his shield, that's when Tsuyu's like, now! As she rushes forward with Ida like shoots at him a bit and like hits him a bit, but the shield like defends him. Deku's like, come on! He like jumps over like a thing and just sets up his barricade. The Baroness is like, what's going on? He's like, 2 ghouls! The big one and the short one. Why me? As this happens, he like throws a spike, like a flashbang and a normal grenade, kills the hunter real quick. Then he rushes at the Titan, like punches Ida, just and just like gets into a fist fight. Using his forearms to his advantage, he ends up grabbing his, again, Kakuri and cuts off the Titan Ida's arm, and then like just stabs him in the neck. Just as the hunter like gets up again, is like not in the process of getting up, Deku walks over and just shoots her in the face with his weapon, just like, ghouls aren't dead for good. Gotta get out of here. As he's like running away, he's just running away this time. He like parked his bike somewhere close and just got on it and just rode back to the little outpost. As he gets back, the Fallen are packing up. Like, she's like, you did good. Last little screw you, but we gotta get out of here. As this happens, he's like, alright. It just takes a moment and just like, sort of like, Toga and his like little gang come over and see this, and then as he's like wobbling back and forth, he like falls a bit, like, and they catch him. Toga's like looking over him, because she kind of just does that. And then Kirishima and Kaminari are like holding him. He's like, you okay? He's like, oh, it'll be better. And now they're all just evacuating. They called in like a couple of skiffs and such to evacuate their armor. Not armor, but their weapons and ammo and ether and the servitors and yada yada yada. As this is happening, they just like all evacuate. Deku like looking over the thing one last time. And I'll say they all see this, like, they're like, oh, we got massive skiff, like, we got a couple of skiffs entering the orbit. As they see this, they like try to rush over, but the Baroness and her crew is already gone. The last person they see is that the hunter bursts out of the forest, like, looking over, and just sees Deku. Deku looks over and just, like, teleports back up into the ship. And then they're off, like, that's the end of that part of the section. She's like, oh, they're gone! Oh, I got, like, hair in my mouth again. I'm sorry if you have to hear this, but seriously, it feels like I keep on getting hair in my mouth. But as this happens, they all like return home, and they like sort of gave the information to the Cal. He's like, we do not want to pick a fight with the House of Devils, so come back. The House of Devils don't think that they caused this, but it was just the Guardians and such, and some of the FOTC taking out their troops. So, that's the end of that, really. Now, as they continue forward, Deku and them land and, like, offload their supplies. The Baroness says, go see your families for a bit. I gotta go report into the Kel. She goes and does all her report. Deku, like, goes back over to, like, where his mother is. Like, they're lodging, and she's just like, oh, it's good to see you. He's grown a bit taller than her at this point, because he's learned some extra ether. And I'll, like, make a note of this, that they, like, scavenge some ether tanks from the Fallen and such. So, they've drunk a bit more of the ether and such. Now I digress. So they just sort of talk, and some of the young, not young vandals, but some of the young Elixni or Fallen have been like told about a little bit about like were told that a new like, oh god, I know I'm not stuttering or something, but they're told that some Fallen that have been out, like who've been shipped out for a while, have finally come back, and that they're being like prepared and such and yada yada. And that some of the Fallen like know Deku was gone for a little while, so they like some of the young ones like rush up to him. They're like, tell us, and they just sort of like at this point he's like wandering around a bit. He sees Toga and just like sort of waves to her, and she just like sees him and she rushes over and just starts following him again. And so as he's just walking around with his like weapon holstered and such, like some of the young ones like run up to him and they just like look at him like, whoa, just sort of like looking at his armor and how he's kind of bigger than some of the other Vandals that they've seen, like by 6 inches. 6 inches he's taller than like some of the other most of the Vandals they've seen. So they're just like, whoa, look at him, he must have some cool stories. So some of them start like pushing him, and like one of the teachers come over and they say, yes, they heard that some of you came back from deployment. You can tell stories, yes. He's like, I wouldn't mind. She's like, good, take a seat and tell them a story, please. So he like sits them all down and he's like, how about I tell you the first day I got there? And they're like, yeah. And he tells them like about how he's come toe to toe with some of the ghouls, as they like call them. He's like, and there I was just watching the ghouls and these humans talk about the forces, and they hadn't seen us then. And he makes it suspenseful. My radio started to chatter. The ghost saw me. Then he's like, his master then shot up at me. As I ran it from building to building and jumped. He's like making it epic. And he's like making hand signals and such to like emphasize and such. Toga's just sat down like sort of listening with the children. Because she does like listening to stories like Deku. And she's just listening, and they're like, wow. And as he like describes how he like got hit and then he rolled a bit and then managed to get a shot off at the ghoul and take her down, they're like, awesome, do you got any more when you fought the ghoul? She's like, you want to hear a good one? She's like, yeah. So the Baroness has sent me out on a mission. It just goes on from telling them. And the kids are like, wow, you're so cool and everything. And they do all that. It's like, huh. And then he's like, it's getting late, little ones. The teacher, you will all have to go home soon, yes? And they're like, yeah. He's like, don't worry. I have a few more stories to tell. As this is happening, they're like, yeah. And sort of like the teacher says thank you to him, and then like looks at Toga and just goes like, hope you both have good life. Now as they're wandering away, they just sort of wander home. He sort of talks to Toga about where she sleeps and everything. No, I don't know if drakes or anything have like a designated sleep area, like slaves and such. But essentially she's like, I just pick somewhere to fall asleep. Like, come with me. We can share home, yes? As this happens, she just sort of follows Deku all the way home. He shows Inko him, and that's, that really. Then, Deku and his, as he's just like, Deku and his gang, like, report in. Like, the Baroness called them in. And says that the Kel would like to speak to them. So that they can do their thing. Says he's called in and such. Sorry about that. Something just came up. Now, as I was continuing, Deku and his little and all of them are called in to meet the Kell. As the Kell is going on, sort of like describes how they're getting redeployed, and that they're being redeployed. They're being redeployed to this other area they need to go to assist with this captain. And that he has great faith in such, or superior officer, has great faith in such of what he's heard from the Baroness. As they're like, when do we leave? You'll leave in a week, so you have time to cool down. So as this is happening, he states that Togo will be going with them as well, and everything. And that Kaminari, and I'll state what they're all doing here. At this time, Kaminari's taking a bit more lessons on, technology and such. Kirishima's just training more. Mina's just telling a few stories, just wandering about and doing a few manual labor things, and Deku's just wandering around and doing a mixture of not all three, but a mixture of telling stories to the little ones, learning, training, etc. Toga's just following him around this entire time. So day comes when the guy gets shipped back out. He says goodbye to his mother. They get shipped out to, don't think I stated where they live, but it's to a full, just sort of foresty, another foresty place. Now as I continue forward, they sort of get told, they get sent with more supplies, and they go on with their lives. I'll say at this point, Toga's close to being undocked. Because if you know what I mean, dregs have their lower arms docked. So she'll have to do a little bit more, but she's been told that soon promotion may be available. So, let me scratch my ears. Oh, that feels good. They're being sent over to another Baron. And the Baron has lost a few people, so the Baron has called in for more reinforcements be taken over. It's similar to what happens. They go in, but in this area, there aren't any other fallen houses, but there are some hive. And how the hive are close to an area that they need to get to is that there's supposedly some tech and salvage in there that's very valuable, so they'll only be here for a short time. And now, I'll end this off here, because it's gone for a decently long time. Thank you guys for watching, and sorry for the interruption and noises in the background if you heard them. And again, thank you for watching. Goodbye.